Magnificat anima mea Dominum,
et exulta in spiritus meus, in Deo salutari meo,
quia respexit humilitatem mansile sue, ex enim ex hoc beata medicent omnes generationes.
quia fecit mi magna qui potens est, et sanctum nomen eius,
Et misericordia eius a progenie in progenies, dimentibus eum,
fecit potentiam in brachio suum, dispersit superbos mente cordis sui,
deposuit potentes tessere, et exaltavit humile.
Suriente simple vit bonis, et divit est misit inane.
Suscepit Israel puerum suum, recordatus misericordiae suae.
Sicut locutus est ad Patres nostros, Abraham et semini eius in saecula.
Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto,
Sicut erat in principio et nunc et semper, et in saecula saeculorum. Amen.
The Virgin Mary in the Kingdom of the Divine Will, by the servant of God, Luisa Picaretta, little daughter of the Divine Will. For private use only. Meditations for the month of May, for the House of the Divine Will. May 6, 1930. Luisa Picaretta. Fiat. JMJ. Maternal Appeal of the Queen of Heaven. Dearest daughter, I feel the irresistible need to descend from heaven to make you my maternal visits. If you assure me of your filial love and faithfulness, I will remain always with you in your soul, to be your teacher, model, example, and most tender mother. I come to invite you to enter into the kingdom of your Mama, that is, the kingdom of the Divine Will, and I knock at the door of your heart, that you may open it to me. You know, with my own hands I bring you this book as gift. I offer it to you with maternal care, so that in your turn, in reading it, you may learn to live of heaven and no longer of earth. This book is of gold, my child. It will form your spiritual fortune, your happiness, also terrestrial. In it you will find the font of all goods. If you are weak, you will acquire strength. If you are tempted, you will achieve victory. If you have fallen into sin, you will find the pitying and powerful hand that will lift you up again. If you feel afflicted, you will find comfort. If cold, the sure means to get warm. If hungry, you will enjoy the delicious food of the divine will. With it you will lack nothing. You will no longer be alone, because your Mama will keep you sweet company, and with her every maternal care, she will take on the commitment of making you happy. I, the Celestial Empress, will take care of all your needs, provided that you consent to live united with me. If you knew my yearnings, my ardent sighs, and also the tears I shed for my children, if you knew how I burn with the desire that you listen to my lessons, all of heaven, and learn to live of divine will. In this book, you will see wonders. You will find a Mama who loves you so much as to sacrifice her own beloved son for you, in order to allow you to live of that same life of which she lived upon earth. Oh, please, do not give me this sorrow. Do not reject me. Accept this gift of heaven that I am bringing you. Welcome my visit, my lessons. Know that I will go throughout the whole world. I will go to each individual, to all families, to religious communities, to every nation, to all peoples. And if needed, I will go around for entire centuries, until as queen, I have formed my people, and as mother, my children, who would know the divine will and let it reign everywhere. Here is the purpose of this book explained to you. Those who will welcome it, with love, will be the first fortunate children who will belong to the kingdom of the divine fiat. And I, with gold characters, will write their names in my maternal heart. See, my child, that same infinite love of God, which in redemption wanted to use me in order to make the eternal word descend upon earth, is now calling me into the field once again, entrusting to me the difficult task, the sublime mandate of forming on earth the children of the kingdom of his divine will. Therefore, with maternal care I set to work, and I prepare for you the way which will lead you to this happy kingdom. For this purpose, I will give you sublime and celestial lessons, and finally, I will teach you special and new prayers, through which you will commit the heavens, the sun, the creation, my very life and that of my Son, and all the acts of the saints, so that in your name they may infiltrate the adorable kingdom of the divine will. These prayers are the most powerful, because they bind the very divine operating. By means of them, God will feel disarmed and conquered by the creature. Confident of this help, you will hasten the coming of his most happy kingdom, and with me, you will obtain that the divine will be done on earth as it is in heaven, according to the desire of the divine master. Courage, my daughter. Make me content, and I will bless you. Prayer to the Celestial Queen for each day of the month of May. Immaculate Queen, my celestial mother, I come onto your maternal knees to abandon myself in your arms as your dear daughter, in order to ask of you, with the most ardent sighs, in this month consecrated to you, the greatest of graces, that you admit me to live in the kingdom of the divine will. Holy Mamma, you who are the queen of this kingdom, admit me to live in it as your daughter, that it may no longer be deserted, but populated by your children. Therefore, Sovereign Queen, I entrust myself to you, that you may lead my steps in the kingdom of the divine will. And as I cling to your maternal hand, you will lead all my being to live perennial life in the divine will. You will be my Mamma, and to you, as my Mamma, I deliver my will, that you may exchange it with the divine will, and so I may be sure I will not go out of its kingdom. Therefore I pray you to illumine me in order to make me comprehend what will of God means. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now, and at the hour of our death. Amen. Little Sacrifice of the Month. Each morning, midday, and night, 3 times a day, let us go onto the knees of our celestial Mamma and say to her, My Mamma, I love you. And you, love me and give a sip of divine will to my soul. Give me your blessing, that I may do all of my actions under your maternal gaze. The Virgin Mary in the Kingdom of the Divine Will. Day 12. The Queen of Heaven in the Kingdom of the Divine Will leaves the cradle, takes her first steps, and with her childlike acts calls God to descend upon earth and calls the creatures to live in the divine will. The soul to the celestial little queen. Here I come again to you, my dear little baby, in the house of Nazareth. I want to be spectator of your tender age. I want to give you my hand as you take your first steps, and speak with your holy Mamma and with your father Joachim. Little as you are, after you have learned how to walk, you help Saint Anne in the little tasks. My little Mamma, how dear you are to me, and all striking. Oh, please, give me your lessons, that I may follow your childhood and learn from you, also in the little human actions, to live in the kingdom of the divine will. Lesson of the Little Queen of Heaven. My dear child, my only desire is to keep my child near me. Without you, I feel lonely, and I have no one to whom to confide my secrets. So it is my maternal cares that seek to have my child near me, whom I keep in my heart, in order to give you my lessons, and so make you comprehend how to live in the kingdom of the divine will. But the human volition does enter into it. It remains crushed and in act of receiving continual deaths before the light, sanctity, and power of the divine will. But do you think that the human volition remains afflicted because the divine will keeps it in the act of dying continually? Oh, no, no. Rather, It feels happy that upon its dying will, the divine will is born again and rises victorious and triumphant over it, bringing to it joy and happiness without end. It is enough to comprehend, dear child, what it means to let oneself be dominated by it and to experience it, for the creature to abhor her own will so much that she would rather let herself be torn to pieces than go out of the divine will. Now listen to me. I departed from heaven only to do the will of the Eternal One. And even though I had my heaven within me, which was the divine will, and I was inseparable from my Creator, yet I enjoyed being in the celestial fatherland. More so since the divine will being in me, I felt my rights of daughter to be with them, to let myself be rocked as a tiny little one in their paternal arms, to participate in all the joys and happiness, riches and sanctity which they possessed, for as much as I could take of them, and to fill myself so much as to be unable to contain any more. And the Supreme Being enjoyed in seeing that, without fear, but rather with highest love, I filled myself with their goods. Nor was I surprised that they would let me take whatever I wanted. I was their daughter. One was the will which animated us. Whatever they wanted, I wanted as well. So I felt that the properties of my celestial Father were mine. The only difference is that I was little, and could not embrace or take all their goods. As many as I would take, so many were left, that I had no capacity to contain them, because I was always a creature, while the divinity was great, immense, and in one single act it embraced everything. But in spite of this, at the moment they would let me understand that I was to deprive myself of their celestial joys and of the chaste embraces which we had given each other, I would depart from heaven without hesitation, and would return to the midst of my dear parents. They loved me very much. I was all lovable, striking, cheerful, peaceful, and filled with childlike grace, such as to captivate their affection for me. They were all attentive over me. I was their jewel. When they took me in their arms, they felt unusual things, and a divine life palpitating in me. Now, child of my heart, you must know that as my life down here began, the divine will extended its kingdom in all my acts. So my prayers, my words, my steps, the food, the sleep I took, the little tasks with which I helped my mother, were animated by the divine will. And since I have always carried you in my heart, I called you as my child in all my acts. I called your acts to be together with mine, so that also in your acts, even in different ones, the kingdom of the divine will might extend. Listen to how much I have loved you. If I prayed, I called your prayer into mine, so that yours and mine might receive the same value and power, the value and the power of a divine will. If I spoke, I called your word. If I walked, I called your steps. And if I did the little human actions indispensable to the human nature, such as taking the water, sweeping, helping my mother by handing the wood to her in order to start the fire, and many other similar things. I called these same acts of yours, that they might receive the value of a divine will, and so that both in mine and in yours, its kingdom might extend. And while calling you in each of my acts, I called the divine word to descend upon earth. Oh, how much I have loved you, my child! I wanted your acts within mine, in order to render you happy, and to let you reign together with me. And oh, how many times I called you and your acts! But to my greatest sorrow, mine remained isolated, and I saw yours as though lost within your human will, forming, horrible to say, the kingdom not divine but human, the kingdom of passions and the kingdom of sin, of unhappinesses and misfortune. Your mamma cried over your misfortune, and for each act of human will that you do, as I know the unhappy kingdom to which they lead you. My tears are still pouring to make you comprehend the great evil that you do. Therefore, listen to your mamma. If you do the divine will, joys, happinesses will be given to you by right. Everything will be in common with your Creator. Weaknesses, miseries will be banished from you. And then you will be the dearest of my children. I will keep you in my same kingdom to let you live always of divine will. The soul. Holy Mamma, who can resist seeing you cry and not listening to your holy lessons? I, with all my heart, promise, swear never to do my will, never again. And you, divine Mamma, never leave me alone, so that the empire of your presence may crush my will, to let me reign always, always in the will of God. Little sacrifice. Today, to honor me, you will give me all your acts to keep me company during my tender age, saying to me 3 acts of love, in memory of the 3 years which I lived with my mother, Saint Anne. Ejaculatory prayer. Powerful Queen, captivate my heart to enclose it in the will of God. You have reached the end of Day 12 of the Virgin Mary in the Kingdom of the Divine Will. Fiat.